Good evening and welcome to the Northern Sun Experience. I'm David Brown, and our basketball analyst Jordan Dalton joins us one last time to put a bow on this hoop season. And first of all, Jordan, congrats to Northwest Missouri State, D2 national champs. They won it this past weekend at the Pentagon. But of course, they came out of the Central Region, had to beat 3 NSIC teams just to get to the Pentagon. So what does that say overall about the competitiveness of the NSIC this year?
Well, I think that the top teams in the NSIC showed that they can compete with the national champion. Like you said, congrats to the Bearcats. But they had 3 really tough games in that Central Region to get to the Elite Eight. Upper Iowa gave them everything they could handle, forcing overtime in that first round matchup. I thought in the semifinals, Augie just kind of ran out of firepower, just didn't have enough. But then you look at the championship game in Southwest Minnesota State, they only lose by 3, and it's a dogfight the entire game. So I think when you have 3 teams competing with the eventual national champs and really pushing them to their limit, that just really shows you how tough all the teams are in the NSIC, and also that they're battle tested. They have a tough regular season because they do beat each other up throughout the year. So I thought it was a great showing and really just a great display of effort on the part of the NSIC teams in the Central Region tournament this year.
Absolutely, and obviously good to see them at least compete with the national champions, as you said, on that level. Well, looking at that South Division for next season, SMSU is going to lose Mitch Wegg and Joey Bartlett, but they're going to have most of their guys back. Augustana is going to lose Mike Busak, Adam Byer. Upper Iowa is going to lose the Defensive Player of the Year in Jordan Hay. So what's your outlook on these South Division teams for next season? Yeah,
I think you would have to go back to this year's champion, Southwest Minnesota State. They're still bringing back Ryan Brueggemann, who's one of the best point guards, not only in the conference, but in the country. So tough off that ball screen with him able to create his own shot, but also make life easier for everybody else too. And then on the other side of that backcourt, you got KJ Daniels, who's a lockdown defender, really puts a lot of pressure on the other team's best perimeter offensive players. So I think they have a really complete backcourt. And then when you look at Brueggemann, again, he makes the game easier for others as well. And so you can have guys step into some of those maybe smaller roles, knock down some timely shots, and really, they're going to play hard on the defensive end. That's just what they do. So I think they're going to have another great shot at making another South Division title next year.
Mustangs would be the early favorite in 2017-18. Well, looking at the North Division, MSU Moorhead, they might go through some attrition. They struggled to end the year. They're going to lose 4/5 of their starting lineup. Just Tanner Kretschmann back for the Dragons. Northern State, however, they only lose 1 player of real consequence in Mac Arvidsson in graduation. St. Cloud State's going to lose Scotty Stone, a good scorer for them. So what's your outlook for the North Division next year?
Yeah, I think you have to go up to Aberdeen and Northern State. They played really tough this year. Like you said, only losing 1 real key contributor. I really like the point guard Ian Smith out of Northern State. He can really shoot the ball from the 3-point line. Shot over 48% this year. He's also nice off the dribble. He can get into the paint, maybe create some easier shots. So when you look at that Northern State team, you understand on the defensive end, again, they're going to compete every single possession. They're going to play tough, and they're going to rebound. But then you look on the offensive end, when you have a player like Smith who can not only get his own shot, but once again, make life easier for those other role players, I think that's going to be a huge attribute next year, and I think they should do some things in the North Division next year.
Maybe a reason why they didn't do so well in the NSIC tournament. Ian Smith injured for part of the season, so that might have affected the Wolves' play. But Northern State definitely a team to watch next season. Well, other than the schools we've mentioned, what's one team that maybe people should keep an eye on for next season, a little bit under the radar?
Yeah, I think when you look at a team like the Winona State Warriors, hopefully they can just bounce back. Obviously, kind of had a tough transition in their program, but they have such rich tradition. They went through the span in the early 2000s where they went to 3 straight national championships. They have a beautiful campus. You would hope that they can get some kids in there to really bring some of that tradition back. Because they're a great team, and it's just great not only for the NSIC, but for Division II basketball as a whole when a storied program like that is at the top level. So hopefully they can bounce back and really have a strong performance next year.
Keep an eye on Winona State. Well, when we come back, we stick with basketball in a different way and remind you of the perseverance and patience displayed by one of SMSU's all-time greatest athletes.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Although he's been the head coach of the Southwest Minnesota State wheelchair basketball team the past 4 seasons, this most recent campaign was the first one with Derek Klinkner as the permanent head coach. It provided a solid foundation for a man who's overcome every obstacle in his life and kept moving forward.
Hey, we're ready. You guys can bring it.
The fast lane at Southwest Minnesota State's wheelchair basketball camp runs 94 feet.
Nothing here, nothing here. Woo! Hey Sam, how you doing? Hey, watch baseline, go baseline, go baseline, go baseline.
But Derek Klinkner has always been quick with a shot.
There you go, that's your shot, Brian. Too bad you're not gonna make it though. Talking trash here right now. Woohoo! Called it.
And his mouth.
Some people think, oh, they're in wheelchairs, it's not that intense of a sport. I'll say, come on, I'll play you one-on-one. I'll spot you 20 points a game at 21 and give you the ball first. We'll see who wins.
A quick talker, a quick learner, and quickly understanding that life has a funny way of giving you everything you ever wanted.
Woo! I'll take that. I'll take that.
Derek Klinkner grew up in Artesian, South Dakota, working on the family farm and eventually earning a football scholarship to SMSU.
You come on campus and you get a feel of a big old family. That's kind of how I describe it. You're just kind of a big old family here at Southwest. And that's one thing that I was looking for. I come from a small town, close to my family. I wanted to essentially feel part of a family choosing the school.
In his first 2 seasons as a Mustang, Derek racked up more than 130 tackles and earned NSIC All-Conference honors. It was hard work that earned Derek those accolades. But after his sophomore season, even harder work laid ahead. On a rainy day in the spring of 2010, Derek was helping his dad move a water tank across the farm.
We use a payloader tire, put it on its side, put cement in the bottom of it, so essentially it's really heavy. It's about 3,000 pounds, this particular tire. We were moving it from point A to point B, and when we placed it at point B, the ground wasn't quite level, so we put some backfill in there to make it level. While we were picking it up and hooking up the pipes underneath of it, because they came through the center, the earth on the opposite sides of the backfill that I just laid down gave away and shifted out of the bucket on top of me, essentially breaking my back, or for the science nerds, I'm a T12 L1 dislocation. It was a very sharp, excruciating pain. I would describe it as, taking like a butcher knife, about 12 inches, 18 inches, and jabbing in your back. So it was like that. Every time you're taking a breath, you turn that knife a quarter of a turn.
Derek was paralyzed from the waist down. His football career was over.
But then it wasn't until about 6 weeks later that it really hit me that I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, and this sucks, and it really took a toll on me, and it was tough because, I loved football. Football essentially was my life, and that got taken away from me. Like, what am I going to do now?
Despite the accident, Derek returned to SMSU for his junior year and found a new outlet for his athleticism, although he wasn't exactly quick to come around to it.
I'm never going to play that terrible sport. Those are my exact words. I'm never going to play that terrible sport.
So how exactly did the wheels get started? Well, Derek actually lost a bet to a friend, and he was forced to try out for the wheelchair basketball team.
And that first day, I literally had open wounds on my hand. They were bleeding. Everything I touched, I'd leave blood. And I couldn't move. They wouldn't let me go to play defense, wouldn't let me go down on offense. It was really frustrating. I was just like, how can I can't? I'm stuck there. I'm like, oh, and then I turn around and the same person's on the opposite side, not letting me move. And it was a shell shock, because like I said, I was so naturally gifted at everything that I did, and it's something that I sucked at. And essentially that drove me to get better.
You're gonna shoot this one. Look it up.
Derek did get better, earning his way onto the team in the fall of 2010 and eventually onto the coaching staff. In fact, Derek was both a player and coach from 2012 to 2014, maintaining the head coaching job after earning both his bachelor's and master's degrees.
He's a really good guy. He expects a lot out of his players, and just is really hard and kind of pushes us towards where we need to go.
This program's only going to grow as much as Derek grows, because Derek's going to really have to push things. But if you talk to him for 5 minutes, he's very confident.
Nice shot last time. You'll make it next time, I promise.
Along with the help of SMSU alum Ryan Martin, Derek's using this camp to help kids from all across the country understand what his players already know. The chair isn't an excuse, it's an opportunity.
Everywhere else is going to baby you. We're going to tell you how it is, and we're going to tell it to you straight.
You have the ability to be highly competitive. You bring him here on campus, we pre-test and post-test him, and essentially between that time we train him.
He does things the right way. He's really focusing on these athletes getting their degree, because there is no MBA.
I'll make this one, I hope. It's embarrassing if I miss it. And I missed.
The pace of Derek's life never slowed down, and more importantly for him, his body, mind, and spirit never did either. From starting linebacker to player coach of a wheelchair basketball team, Derek hasn't really had the time to learn a different speed. But what he has learned is that life after tragedy is something he'll always cherish, no matter how quickly it goes.
I don't know what I'd be doing. It's crazy, because if you think about it, because of my accident, I got a bachelor's, a master's degree, and a job. So if I didn't have my accident, where would I be in life? I don't know. If I didn't have wheelchair basketball, where would I be in life? probably twiddling my thumbs playing video games. It's more than just basketball, it's more or less life lessons, you know, so you essentially whatever you learn on the court you can apply to your real life. Like you have an obstacle, how do you overcome that obstacle on the court? Well, then you can do the same thing in life.
When we come back, Jordan Dalton rejoins me to put a cap on the NSIC women's basketball season. Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Rejoined by Jordan Dalton. We'll cap the NSIC women's basketball season now. And despite early exits in the NCAA tournament from MSU Moorhead and Northern State, what was your thought on the season as a whole for the NSIC?
Well, when you look at Northern State, they had a tough out, obviously, losing in the final seconds to number 1 Emporia State. So they still played really well. But I thought overall this season showed just how slim the margin is from the best team to the 6th best team. You know, where there was really a log jam in the top 5 or 6 teams in the conference all season long. And that just shows the parity and competitive balance in the conference this year. You know, you have some great teams, but again, they beat up on each other all year long. And so I thought that's why it was such a fun, not only regular season, but fun tournament to watch too, and such excitement, because they are so evenly matched. So I think you have a lot of really, really solid teams, nobody that really separated themselves a ton. But I think it's going to be fun for next year as well.
And they'll certainly learn those lessons from this season. Speaking of MSU Moorhead and Northern State, Dragons are only losing 1 starter. The Wolves are only losing 1 starter. They'll be back. What's the outlook of that North Division next year on the women's side?
Yeah, when you look at, again, Northern State, they're bringing back Miranda Ristau, you know, an all-region type player. She's such a tough player down low in the post. She has great footwork, can really get her shot off not only inside, but can step out and hit the 15 to 16-foot jump shot. So when you're looking at a player like that, that's a player that changes the entire dynamic of the entire season, because you know when you need a bucket, you can go down to her. We talk about Coach Fredrickson and how he's established that winning culture up in Aberdeen. Everybody falls in line, but again, when you have such a superstar player, it makes it easier for other role players to really come in and play smaller roles. They're not asked to do a ton. He has a great, Coach Fredrickson has a great system up there. You know, they're going to run set plays. You know, they're going to drain the shot clock. So they're a tough team to play against in general. So I really think it'll be interesting to see what Northern State can do bouncing back next year as well.
Wolves will definitely be in the mix. In the South, no postseason teams, but Augie only loses 1 starter. Others lose a little more. Wayne State loses a couple. Winona State and Sioux Falls lose 3/5. What's the outlook for the South Division next year?
Yeah, I still think Kraut ball is alive and well. I think Coach Dave Kraut just does a great job of he never kind of rebuilds. He just reloads. He's always has players in there that are just extremely talented, not only on the offensive end, but they can get it done on the defensive end as well. Obviously, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and O'Farrell still coming back. So they just have a great system about them. And again, they play a style of basketball on the offensive end that's very fun, very exciting to play in. And so he's able to bring in great talent year in and year out. And all he does is show up and get 20 wins every season. So I think the Vikings will prove to be, again, strong next year as well.
Augustana should be tough at home. Well, other than the schools we've mentioned, what's one team like on the men's side that people should keep an eye out for next season on the women's side?
Yep. Well, you look at Concordia St. Paul, obviously. Amanda Johnson, she's going to have her 2nd full season, so she's going to have her team back. Went on a 10-game winning streak earlier this year, so I really think they can really show some promise and come out, not have a slow start. You know, if they can start off the conference season tough, I think they can ride that wave. But when you have your own players in there, get you a little bit better feel.
We'll see if the Golden Bears shine next season. Well, when we come back, our Under the Northern Sun alumni feature showcases Minot State. Welcome back. It's time to name 2 new members to the NSIC's 25th anniversary team. Congrats to former Minnesota State pitcher Harvey Martin, who gathered a variety of different awards during his senior season in 2013, including Central Region and NSIC Pitcher of the Year. Martin currently works with youth baseball in the Twin Cities and is also a scout for the Major League Baseball's Milwaukee Brewers. And congrats to former Winona State catcher Ben Barone. A 2-time All-Conference selection, Barone was the 2007 NSIC Tournament MVP, NSIC Player of the Year, and National Player of the Year. Well, making it to the collegiate level in one sport is hard enough, but one Minot State legend proves she could do it all both on the diamond and on the court. In tonight's Under the Northern Sun alumni feature, meet softball and volleyball standout Jen Dixon.
I still remember when I found out that I had won Player of the Year. My team, we were out for lunch, we were traveling to go play, and my coach pulled me aside and said, "Hey Jen, look, you won Player of the Year." And at that point it never really hit me, right? I didn't really understand the full picture of what it all meant. Looking back now, though, I am so thankful that that kind of shows how much effort I put into this college and my sports and my academics and everything that goes along with it. But I don't remember my experience based on that award. I remember my experience based on my teammates and everything that we were able to accomplish together.
Well, when I first started recruiting Jen, I saw her play in a couple tournaments early when she was like sophomore summer and junior summer. And the first thing I noticed was her athleticism, her speed home to first, and she hit a triple to left center, and from home to third. She was a great athlete. So then a little further investigation, I found out she was a great student as well. And then I had known after the recruiting process got going a little bit, I found out that she was also being recruited by some Division I schools for volleyball.
Jen not only made me a better player, but she made everyone around us better players. She would always want the best from everyone, and she demanded the best from everyone. That was one of the biggest things about Jen, and you wanted to give her your best because she was so easy to follow. And there's not many people like that in sport. There's not many people that you can just look at and be like, yeah, I want to follow this girl. I want to like do what she wants and make sure this team is great because I respect her so much. And that was one of the big things about Jen. Honestly, one of the rarest, most amazing people you ever meet. Just selfless in all sorts of ways, and she's really amazing. I wouldn't replace her for the world.
That is a common question that I've always been asked. You know, what is your favorite sport out of volleyball and softball? And to this day, I still cannot tell you. With my experience playing both the sports here, positive, both experiences. I loved the fact that I could go from one season to the next. And, you know, obviously I always think about would that off season have helped me grow stronger in one of the sports if I would have played one. But having the opportunity to play two was one of the biggest reasons why I came to Minot State. And I would never be able to choose one or the other still to this day. Moving from NAIA to Division II required so much more, I don't know how to say this, I wouldn't say more commitment, but you know, it required every single person on both teams to be locked in, ready to go at all times. That competitiveness and that intensity going to the next level really changed. Having that 1 year transition year was tough, but I think it really helped prepare not only volleyball and softball, but every other sport as well to make that leap into the next division. And I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to play Division II. I have no regrets coming to Minot State. Minot State was one of the best parts of my life. I spent 5 years here and I call it home. I just recently came back from my first alumni event, and it's crazy to be on the other side of it. But I'd say that the culture that they have developed here in this program and this school and the athletics and academics, it's crazy. You know, I didn't know a lot of people for this alumni event, but it felt like I had known them my entire life, and that's what they do here at Minot State. And I don't look back with any regrets. I was very thankful to be a part of both volleyball and softball and meet the people I had a chance to meet, and it's just been an amazing experience that I look back on and will never forget.
When we come back, a quick look at the preseason baseball and softball polls and where things stand right now through conference play.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back. Baseball and softball season are in full swing across the NSIC, but it's interesting to look back on the preseason predictions and see where things stand right now. In baseball, there was a clear number one with Minnesota State garnering 10 of the 15 first-place votes. St. Cloud State finished second with 4 first-place votes, followed by Augustana, Concordia St. Paul, and Minnesota Duluth, who had 1 first-place vote. Winona State, Northern State, and Wayne State rounded out the top half. And so far through March 27th, the Mavericks seem to be validating their first-place predictions. But some other teams are outperforming expectations, including Minot State with a 6-2 conference mark. Unbalanced non-conference schedules make this a little hard to gauge, but it'll certainly be a fun April and May. As far as softball is concerned, the preseason poll also had Minnesota State at the top with 15 of 16 first-place votes. Minnesota Duluth finishes second with the only other first-place selection. Winona State, Augustana, Sioux Falls, Wayne State, Upper Iowa, and Bemidji State round out the top half of the poll. Now, as for whether that poll has become reality in the early part of the season, judge for yourself. Conference play is set to get underway this week, and the Mavs have easily had the best non-conference season at 22-4. Winona State, Minnesota Duluth, and Augustana are only separated by a few games apiece. The rest of the top 8 a little skewed simply by the number of games played in the non-conference season, but things will start to become clear as we head into April. Once again, a thank you to all of our NSIC member schools. Tune in next week for yet another Northern Sun Experience.